What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. Oh, we are here. It is bittersweet because I love Insecure and I couldn't wait for the season premiere. But it's bitter because I know it's the last season and I'm just not here for it and I'm not ready for it. But all good things must come to an end, and this is what we're doing. So, Insecure season 5, it starts off with everybody going back to their alma mater for alumni weekend, reunion weekend. Now, again, I didn't go to a PWI. They all went to Stanford, which I don't know if I knew that before this episode, that all of them went to Stanford. But, excuse me, but all of them did. Now, Issa got flued up, honey, because she is going to be speaking on a panel of entrepreneurs. Now, I find this to be very interesting because Issa has been an entrepreneur all of 2 months, because we know through them talking that this is 2 months from where we left off with the last episode. So this is 2 months after the block party, 2 months after she started her own, company that's going to do these types of events. And so, or maybe 3 or 4 months, because, she had to set up the company, I guess, prior to. But I'm thinking to myself, of all of the alumni from Stanford University who are entrepreneurs, Issa got on the panel, but okay. So she got flued up, honey. Now, Tiffany, her husband, and Kelly are riding up. Now, Molly is there. We don't know how Molly got there because we didn't see that part. But we see Issa and Molly. Both of them got on their Stanford sweatshirts. And, everybody, they are polite. They hug. They speak. They acknowledge each other's presence. But you can tell that it's still not what it was. Because if it was what it was, Molly would have been riding with Issa on that flued up plane. She just would have got herself a ticket in first class, right? So, like I said, they are still walking around on tiptoes, and they get there and they get checked in and everything, and come to find out, honey, they didn't kill Kelly. Okay, Kelly is in the memorandum section of the alumni book, okay? And Kelly is like, who the hell killed me off? So the whole weekend is all about Kelly no longer being with us. And all of them think it's a big joke. But at a certain point, Kelly was like, this shit ain't really, it really ain't funny. And I think the biggest part is she didn't seem like people remembered her the way she should have been remembered. We'll get back to Miss Kelly. So, Tiffany's husband is obsessed with finding the tree, which he carved in his love for Tiffany while they were at Stanford. He don't never find a tree, but he does find a tree and just carves it over again as if something you carved today is going to look the same as if you had carved it 10 years ago. But we're going to let them have that. We're going to let them have it. Okay. Issa can't even remember the name of her damn company, okay? It's Block, and then each is like Black Live Community, and she can't never remember the C part. Or, active, whatever the C part is, honey, poor thing. You know that's bad when you can't remember your own acronym for your own company, okay? But, again, we are happy to see that Issa is moving onward and upward, honey, and she got some things going on, right? She got some good things going on. We're happy to see it. We also run into their friend who they were in a rap group with. They call themselves the Trap Sisters or something to that effect. And child, she done snuck in. Okay, I feel like she never graduated. You know how you got them friends that you went to school with and you think they graduated, but then you find out like at alumni weekend that they ain't really graduate with you. You're like, oh, but they always at alumni weekend. They are at all of the events, and you be like, but you didn't, but you never but you won't with. All right then, girl. So she was that girl, right? And so we got a chance to kind of see this whole alumni experience. And again, I don't know what it was like to go to a school like Stanford, child, because I didn't go, but y'all know I love my HBCU, been in college. Hey, boo, hey. So it seems to be going really well. With everything with them first getting on campus and stuff like that. Now, Molly is seeking out advice from Kelly to find out what happened. What was it like when, what was it like when you and Tiffany were on the outs? How did y'all get back? How long did y'all have to kind of walk around on eggshells? Because I really want me and Issa to be okay. Like, I really want us to get over this hump and be back to where we were. And Kelly was like, girl, we fake made up 2-3 months before we really made up. Like, at the end of the day, it's just gonna take time, and there's certain things that you just gonna have to suck it up, laugh at her jokes, but to like everything she's witty, you just have to kind of get past it and move past it. Now we don't really have a definitive answer of what's going on with her and Lawrence. We just get the "it's complicated" tag as the episode progresses, and I'm just like, okay, it's complicated, okay. Um, but at the end of the day, and again, we'll get to that at the end of the episode, because Lawrence, like I said, I guess all of them went to Stanford except for Lawrence. Because all of them are there except for Lawrence. Um, so then we get to meet some of the fellow, folks that they went to school with, a couple of the black guys that they hung out with. Now listen, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna speak a little bit more about this later on when I go live, but let me say this. I can really appreciate the homage to historical black sororities and fraternities that they gave us in this episode. But I'm going to say that I think some of the things that they did in this episode, in my opinion, were a little disrespectful. That's just my opinion. Love you, Issa. It's not personal. It's just, that's how I felt about it. Moving on. So we found out Omari is a friend of Molly's that used to be friends with benefits. That was like their whole thing. And it looks like they're trying to kind of hook, Molly up with Omari. And Molly is like, listen, at the end of the day, realistically speaking, like all we were was like a booty call. Like I ain't trying to turn it into nothing more than what it was. It was a booty call, And okay, you divorced now, and it is what it is. But they got to flirting a little bit, and Omari kind of, and she was like, "Boy, what you want? Like, you trying to pick back up with the friends with benefits situation that we had going on? Nah, bro, I'm a little past that. Okay, so the morning before, and poor Kelly, they had her in memorandum, and they said she had the best stanky leg. Poor thing. So she just, had to give him a little stanky leg, But anyway, so we have a mirror moment with Issa Rae and her, Stanford self, braces and all. And basically they're kind of catching up with, so where you at now, girl? What did you do? Like, did you become a lawyer? And she was like, nah, I ain't never really want to be a lawyer. So we find out that Issa was, when she was at Stanford, thought she was going to be a lawyer, or at least that's what, she spoke on. And she's just talking to, her younger self about, hey, we got this going on. We doing this. We ain't quite get there as fast as we wanted to, but we on the right path now. We chugging along, in that direction now. But yeah, it took us a little bit longer to get there than what we thought when we was in school. We thought we had it figured out, and not so much, right? So then we see Issa on the panel, and of course, all her friends are in the audience there to support her. And Issa, again, is on the panel with these other entrepreneurs who seem like they have all the right answers and got it all figured out. And we know that Issa doesn't. Why? Because her company has only been in existence for 3-4 months. So no, she doesn't have it all figured out. And like she was telling, she's still working her 9 to 5. Like, she's not at a point where she is solely living off of the benefit of her company. And so some of the questions, you can see that she's, questioning herself. You can see that she's not quite feeling good, about being up next to these people on her left and on her right. Like, and, one of the questions they asked is about when did you know that you had figured it all out? And she was like, I still don't know. Like, I still don't know if I made the right decision. I still don't know if I'm doing it right. And of course everybody is sort of looking at her like, girl, what? But I can appreciate the honesty, and I feel like more people need to be more honest. Now, I'm not saying that those people up there aren't being honest, because I feel like they're probably further along in their situation that they do know, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think that they have it all figured out, I don't think that all entrepreneurs have it all figured out. So, of course, when it was over with, y'all know Issa, she was in her head, and she really felt worse than when she started, and this is where we begin to see her and Molly sort of bonding, because after it's over, Tiffany, and this is the part where I feel like we were being a little disrespectful. There were a couple of things I thought they were being a little disrespectful about. But Tiffany has on a AKA sweater. Like, it almost looks like it's a line sweater because it has some, some embroidery on it and things like that. That I don't know if it was supposed to be like her name and her line number and that kind of stuff. And she said something about, when it was over, she said, well, I'm going to head over to the AKA event. Molly, you coming? And I feel like that's to insinuate that Molly is a member of AKA. And as I was watching the episode, I was like, oh, is Molly AKA? Oh, is Amanda Seales the AKA? Like, I'm thinking that these women in real life are members of the sorority and they just kind of incorporated it into the story. Because let's be clear, if they hadn't put it in the story, it would have lost nothing. And they still could have mentioned historical black, the Divine Nine without, in my opinion, being respectful to any of them. There was another scene where Molly was talking about the Omegas and she threw up their hook. Again, it may not seem like a big deal to people who are outside of the circle, but those things are very much a big deal. And those things can be seen as disrespectful. Again, I'll speak more on that later, but I just wanted to throw that in there. So Molly says to Tiffany, nah, I'll catch up with y'all later. And because she sees that Issa is in her head. She knows Issa well enough to know that Issa is not okay. She's not feeling good right now about her situation. And this is where we start to see the Issa and Molly starting to bond, right? So they go to get something to drink. They steal some drinks, honey, and then they end up going to get something to eat. And Issa is just going off about, listen, I don't have it all figured out. Like, I'm still Ubering. I'm still, clean, fixing other people's toilets. I'm still working a whole nother 9 to 5. Like this, my company is not self-sufficient. Like, I'm not at a point where I'm quitting my job and where I'm feeling 100% in my space. And she said, I thought I was going to feel good coming up here sitting on that panel, feeling acknowledged for the hard work I put in over the last year, but I don't. Like, I really don't. As a matter of fact, I kind of feel worse. And Molly is telling her, like, girl, like, I respect what you're doing. I respect what you've done. I see you. And like, you were doing some great things, and Molly, that's part of the problem with Molly and Issa. Molly don't be giving up a lot of praise. Like, she always quick to let Issa know when she messing up or when she didn't do it right. So I think it speaks volumes that Molly is the one that is propping her up, saying, listen, girl, I see you and you moving right, And so again, this is where we start to see them bonding again. So they get a text saying that Cheyenne, there was supposed to be some sort of party happening, but Cheyenne texted them and say, hey, let's head down to, the reggae club that we used to always go to back in the day. And they were like, yep, we down. So they get dressed up and they head out to the reggae club. And Cheyenne was the one I told y'all that didn't really graduate, but, is around. Cheyenne, Molly and Issa are in the back seat. Tiffany's driving with Kelly in the front seat. And Kelly is really upset. Like, I feel like at this point, the joke about her passing away is like, okay, it's gone too far. Like, at first, it was kind of funny. But now it's really not funny. Like, because first of all, they legit think I'm dead. Like, legit. Like, I don't know how they got it. I don't know what information they got. I don't know who told them I was dead. Second of all, I feel like people aren't remembering me the way that I want them to remember me. Like, I feel like I'm not getting the pomp and circumstance that I should be getting, And I remember there was a thing on FX, and it was produced by Ryan Murphy, and it was the whole saga of Betty Davis versus Joan Crawford. It was like an 8-part series, and it was done as a movie, but it really went through their rivalry and how deep their rivalry was and how much Joan Crawford really sacrificed personally and professionally to be a member of the Hollywood elite, even to the point of her pulling her teeth to maintain a certain type of smell, like all kinds of craziness. And I remember at the very end when Joan Crawford died, because she died before Betty Davis, they did an in memorandum for her at the Oscars. And it was like a 5-second, thing. And I remember the person who played Betty Davis was like watching it going, all that woman gave to Hollywood, and she got a 5-second memorandum. Like, they didn't give her a separate reel. They didn't give her a moment. It was basically her face was up on the screen for 5 seconds. And that's kind of how I feel like Molly's feeling in that Kelly's feeling in that moment. Like, damn, I've done this and I've done that, and what is it all for? And then the fact that her friends keep making jokes about it is not making her feel any better. And she really was in her feelings about it. So Cheyenne says, listen, we know that they water the drinks down at this club, so let's go ahead and stop at the liquor store before we get there. And they was like, cool, let's do that. So while they're at the liquor store, they coming up out the liquor store and they get robbed. Dude run up on them with a gun, talking about some drop your bags, drop your shoes, let me get that watch. And of course, Issa and, Molly are scared and they are dropping their bags and they giving the man whatever he want. And in the middle of him robbing them, he calls Cheyenne by her name. And they're looking at Cheyenne like, what? Like, how does he know your name? And she was like, man, you can't get nothing right. You can't do nothing right. And she was like, all right, well, yeah, All right, y'all, let me get them bags. Let me get them bags up off you. And she legit continues to rob them and steals their purse and then takes Molly's shoes. She don't want Issa's shoes. And I was like, what the hell? Like, she legit robbed them, y'all. I said, wow. So they get back in the car and they're telling Tiffany and Kelly about it. And at first, they were like, are y'all serious? And they just bust out laughing. And they are cracking up. It was one of those moments where it was like, okay, that was so absurd. It was funny kind of thing. And that is where I think the wall totally broke between Issa and Molly. I think that is an experience where they have totally bonded on what happened to them, right? Kind of crazy that it had to happen that way, but it did. So the next morning, we see them having breakfast before they're heading out to the airport and, talking about their weekend and how everything went for them, and they're actually sitting around the table having a whole moment for Kelly, talking about how great of a friend she was, all the things that, how hard it was when she left them and everything. And for a moment, I thought it was real. I said, okay, so have we been imagining Kelly this whole time? Like, did Kelly really die? You know what I'm saying? But then the husband says, okay, y'all doing a little bit too much. Like, y'all kind of going a little bit too far, right? But they basically talk about, the fact that they had a great weekend and, all that good stuff. And so we see Issa flying back and, Lawrence is picking her up from the airport and, they kiss and embrace and everything, but you can definitely tell that Issa is, in her head about some things and feeling some kind of way about some things. And, let me pause that there. There was a moment where Issa had a conversation with Molly about, Omari. And how, he's been texting her and stuff like that. And Issa was like, listen, at the end of the day, you wasn't really feeling him like that when you was in college. So at this point, what is it really about? Is it because you can, or are you really interested in trying to do something with him? And, Molly was like, not really. He just got out of a divorce. Like, what does he really want to do? Like, does he really think he, is ready for some type of a relationship or anything? And so again, this just shows how they're sort of back, they're sort of back in that Molly Issa, mode where they're bouncing things off of each other and getting each other's opinion about things and stuff like that. So anyway, they get back to LA and Kelly, who I guess she had some sort of a podcast, they showed her doing a podcast saying, listen, if you knew your time was going to be short on this earth, what would you want? What would you want people to know about you? What would you want people to remember about you? And again, it's all about reflecting on the fact that everybody that she went to Stanford with thinks she's dead, And like I said, we saw Issa, we saw Lawrence picking Issa up and they were sort of talking in the car, but it was awkward. Issa was sort of in her head. It wasn't a lot of conversation. And when Lawrence gets Issa back to her apartment, he said something about coming inside and Issa was like, I've been thinking. And the rest of the words were left unsaid. Lawrence just kind of looked at her. She kind of looked at Lawrence. And basically, it was understood that she was like, yeah, bro, this is it. Like, this is the end of the road right here. Now, I don't think that's the end of the Issa Lawrence saga. I just think that right now, Issa is just trying to figure it all out. Because remember, Lawrence got another woman pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot to process and a lot to deal with. Even though he did not cheat on her, now you got a lot that you have to think about what you are willing to accept and live with moving forward, right? Anyway, that was the first episode. I was here for it. It gave me something that I could feel. And I'll let y'all, we'll see what the rest of the season's looking like. Talk to y'all later. Peace.